Now, this is, for me, a hard one to call in terms of the outcome of the game, but we can probably see some trends here coming through. Lissandra, of course, going to be banned out. Very, very strong champion right now. Twisted Fate taking out Charu. Loves to run that Twisted Fate, even with a teleport. No problem to have 2 in there, so not wanting to let that one go through.
Yep, I'm actually really surprised to see Twisted Fate banned out against Charu, because he's 1-5 with him so far, which isn't honestly a good record. I mean, then again, MeetYourMakers haven't won that many games throughout the entire season, but it's just, I don't know, it's just a weird ban. But we are seeing the Evelynn, which Meluna we have seen play before, I believe, and it's one of those tricky junglers that mid-game you're really powerful. The whole stealth detection in terms of buying an Oracle that early is a little bit risky, but obviously with the change to 3.9, it doesn't hit you that bad since you can use it through death. And then the Elise, take away from Kuban, why not? You have to.
And the Karthus as well. I mean, we've seen that MeetYourMakers can play him in the mid lane, can play him in the top lane as well, of course. So, wanting to get that one completely out of things. And what am I going to go for? There's Kuban on your screen and looking a little bit confused about things going on there. There's a lot of eyebrow movement going on from this one, which indicates to me that MeetYourMakers were probably not expecting that Karthus maybe to go out and wondering exactly where they're going to put this first pick.
Hey, look back to his Karthus against Ultra versus Kerp in the top lane. Like, he got double bust off of RNA right off the bat, but that one little misstep gave Kerp double bust, gave him the strength to pretty much fight him. And it looks like they're still not even sure exactly what they want to go. They're still kind of arguing. They really want to win this game, and looks like they will go for Jarvan, which that's not really a champion that Makati plays. But we think back to when he first started Shed Nautilus, and now as you saw yesterday, he played Lee Sin, so it looks like he started to change up his jungler champion pool a little bit.
Yeah, started to go in there, you know, those more fighty junglers rather than going for the pure utility, really, that he was playing a lot of the time. So, and Ninjas in Pyjamas now got 2 picks. Are they going to be thinking about AD carries? Of course, Freeze himself doing incredibly well up until now that he's recovered from his sunburn that he had over in Tenerife. But looks like they're going to lock in the Thresh for Deficio, who's done really well in the past with that. And also the Rise coming in for Maimon. Of course, that's the champion we saw him running yesterday.
Yeah, it's really weird because when we heard him in the interview and when we talked to him, he likes, you know, Rengar, likes Evelynn, like the stealthy champions, like to be really aggressive. Rise isn't necessarily that kind of champion in the beginning until you get tanky enough to really handle the damage that comes right back at you. But, I mean, he didn't do terrible on Rise. He did lose to Wicked in terms of farm earlier on, but we can pretty much say that was just due to nerfs. But yeah, the Thresh for Deficio, 5 for 6 with him. Very strong champion for him. But we're going to see how it's going to work out, because right now they have 2 champions with some really good CC. You know, you have the Rune Prison and then the hook coming out of Thresh. So you have potential to burst someone down. I want to see what they're going to follow that up with Bjergsen.
Well, looks like we could be seeing a Fiddlesticks in there with Caitlyn. Well, indeed. So that's what MeetYourMakers going in for here. And already you see a bit of a pattern there for when it comes to team fighting stages on MeetYourMakers side. With Fiddlesticks and Jarvan, 2 very much go in there and get the job done champions.
I'm actually... Okay, so I'm slightly confused by the Fiddlesticks pick. Because, I mean, Rise is like a bane to any AD carry. Because when you auto-attack him, you're pretty much in his range for spells. Caitlyn is one of those few champions that actually extends the range, so you have the ability to attack without being harassed. But to pair it with the Fiddlesticks, so in lane, it doesn't really work that well. Like, a Fiddlesticks Varus would be really nice because you can lock them down, follow up with the Fiddlesticks ultimate, CC'd forever, you're going to get a kill. But I don't want to say that'll ever be mid lane, that Caitlyn. I was thinking potentially it could be, because right now Charu, he's not sitting on teleport, which, that's scary. I mean, he's changing things up if he doesn't run teleport.
Flash Ghost. Almost as much range as a teleport if you do it right. Not quite. But we are going to possibly be seeing Aatrox and Draven coming out here. So this is the first time that we're going to be seeing Draven here in Europe. Post 3.9, of course, had the changes to its passive. Aatrox as well being coming in. We'll see whether that ends up being in the jungle or even in the top lane, which is where we've seen Darian running. But in the games where it wasn't Darian with Aatrox, it was Aatrox jungle.
Yeah, so I want to touch on the Draven. So in 3.9, his bleed was taken away off of his Q, and a crit. And also his passive was changed around a little bit, which is part of the whole bleed effect. So he gets extra gold when he kills a minion. It stacks up until you kill a champion, then you get that extra gold. But the thing is, we've heard North America and their opinions on it, saying he's weak now without that bleed. But in Europe, we've heard a couple of people saying that it makes him stronger. The fact that you don't have that bleed which means you can harass under tower a lot more. And if you get a kill in lane, you snowball really hard because of that extra gold you get.
Well, we'll see that in action here for the first time in 3.9 here in Europe. See how Freeze does with him. A very aggressive AD carry player. Anyway, as on the other side right now, MeetYourMakers sat with Ari and a Shen. A Shen going through to the 9th pick of the game.
And a Shen going through when there's already a Jarvan locked in. So we know Makati as a jungle Shen player, but I would have to say he's going to actually be playing Jarvan here. We're going to see Kuban on Shen in that top lane. And that is a very interesting lineup. You have a lot of burst potential coming out of Char. We know how good he is on Ahri. And of course, Fiddlesticks, that CC you have is just... I can't think of a word for it properly. It's just a nuisance for if you're on the enemy team. It's amazing to have if you're on his team. But we're going to see how it's going to work out, because the one thing that shuts Aatrox down really well is just CC.
Yeah. So what's Bjergsen going to have is the real question here, I guess. Thinking that Mima is going to be taking that rise in the top lane. And there's a Gragas, champion that we're not used to seeing a whole lot of. We might see him 2 games in a row, not 2 games in a row, but 2 games in one day here. And he will be locked in.
I'm not 100% sure if that will be middle, though, for Bjergsen. But just looking as their whole comp goes, if you get a pull into someone and the rest of the team is behind him, just use the barrel between them. You split them up completely with a Draven, with an Aatrox, with a Rise. You can burst them down completely. If you just land a Rune Prison on someone, knock everyone else away, like, you have the potential to burst someone down quickly. And if they Rune Prison Ahri, Char is going to have a really tough time dealing with the damage that will come out against them, because Rise is really good counter to her. It stops that mobility that she has. It makes her so powerful.
So here we go then, and really interested to see how Freeze goes about this whole Draven. As he said, first time that we're going to be seeing with that change passive. League of Draven now his new passive name, which is, for me, a fantastic nod to just Draven as a whole, because he is so damn cool. So we'll see how that one all works out for them. As I said, Deficio and Thresh, and that's the thing about you know, if it's Thresh for the hook and flay and the time that gives Draven, or even the Nami that Deficio likes to play as well to bubble up and allow that free damage to come in, then it's always dangerous for that Draven, with or without the bleed, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is, and we're gonna see how they're gonna play it, though. I agree with you on this. I'm 100% curious to see how they're actually gonna pull this one off, what they decide to really do here. But the Gragas, like that, it's still confusing me a little bit. I mean, it's not a bad champion, and if you build it like a certain way, you have the damage or the potential to burst someone down from 100 to 0. Not to mention, you do have a nice range ultimate to use against Fiddlesticks to stop him from ulting in if you can spot him before that happens.
So we can see that players loading into this one, our final game of week 7 here from Cologne. Mima on your screens, the new guy for MeetYourMakers, for NIP. That would be a real turnaround in the course of one day if he'd managed to get himself onto the MYM team by now. Well, that is MeetYourMakers, a team at the bottom of the league, and a win here in a final game of week 7 would go a long way to giving them some confidence back, I think, Jason.
Some much needed confidence too. I mean, they could really use it at this point to really kind of fight for the top of the tables. And let's take a look at Freeze's runes. He's running 19 flat on Repent, so it's a little bit similar to what he normally or would run on Draven. Just stack that armor pen, because then you do so much damage to that person. And right now they're kind of poisoned to go for red here, and Defiso is just going to ward up to see any invade coming at him right now. And Kade taking that flag toss is going to be able to spot NIP, going to be able to stop it, but I think they're going to still commit for this invade.
Well, the ward was put down on the top side by Deficio there, just to make sure that they've got vision of MYM if they decide to try and turn the tables and go for that red buff. Livic himself had warded down in the bottom of the tri-bush. They've not got one on the top side, though, and Livic's the only man with wards at this point for MYM. So unless he comes down and wards there, there's going to be no vision except this lone Jarvan in there who actually gets away, but there is a body slam through the wall. They're going in towards Makata now, but are they going to be able to have the range to keep this one going? They can't get in there, and they decide to actually ward and move off.
They could have. They just didn't know where the rest of MeetYourMakers were, because Bjergsen, his body slam is off cooldown in 1 second right after he used it there, and would have been able to slow, would have let the rest of his team catch up, and that would have been a kill. But playing it safe, they don't want to give up any kills early on. I mean, this is a big game for them. If they win this one, it'll help, you know, bring them together as a team, since they obviously have that new top laner, and help get them one step closer to the top of the table.
Well, we'll see about that one. Of course, NIP right now currently 10 wins for 9 losses. There's the stats from Mima yesterday. 3-3-5 on Rise against EG. And not a super impressive scoreline overall, but the damage output that he was doing later on into the game was really a big thing for NIP.
Yeah, I don't think that represents exactly how that game really went, because it wasn't a very high kill game.
True.
I mean, so 3-3-5 is pretty much, you assisted in over at least 75% of all the kills that happened throughout the whole thing. But Lino, going to be taking blue. Is actually a little bit slower right now than Makade, but that's due to having that Caitlyn Fiddlesticks top lane where they could help out a little bit quicker. So it's going to slow him down. But we talked about this yesterday, that Aatrox, he's a really strong early game jungler, and if you don't make those ganks happen, then you kind of fall off a little bit, just like Xin Zhao.
So let's talk about the lanes here then as they start to shape up. We're going to see the duo in that top lane, and of course it's going to be Fiddle and Caitlyn versus Draven and the Thresh. So talk us through that one here, Jason. I mean, what's your opinions on how that one's going to go down?
Well, if a hook doesn't land, it should be a pretty easy lane for Caitlyn Fiddlesticks, just because if Draven does get in, you can just fear him and keep him off of you, or even exhaust him like that. But he has cleanse, so with that down, that means he cannot get away from the fear that's going to come out of Libic. So that actually gives him a nice strong advantage, and it looks like NIP, they realize this as they're backing away.
Yeah, interesting to cleanse that one off straight away. I'm not sure how much of a real danger there was there for Freeze, but obviously didn't want to take too much damage and wanted to stay in there as they go on towards Rise. Slow does come down, but Mima not really in too much danger from that one, and he'll walk away. No first blood just yet.
Just making his presence known right there, but that does let the rest of NIP know in the top lane that Jarvan's not going to be there. Makati won't be there to stop them, so they could play aggressive, but just with that cleanse down, you see how passive NIP has to play. And Freeze, he's going to have a tough time. He's already down CS against Caitlyn, who is a naturally strong champion against Draven. As you can see right there, has the range advantage over him, can just harass him down. And you're going to see a Freeze, he's got to be able to farm well. He's got to be able to do well early because he's all dependent on that and how his items build into that late game.
That was Maluno just waiting off to the sides here to see if he could get any kind of chance to get it on towards Charu, who is running teleport. We kind of put you off it earlier on when we were talking about Ghost and Flash, but of course, he's running that trusty teleport. Wouldn't really expect anything different from Charu, as NIP here having to farm up underneath their own turret in the top lane.
I think Freeze is fine with that, though, because I mean, you have so much AD that it's really easy to farm under the turrets. You don't even need the support helping you last hit here. But Maluno, he was sticking around middle. He wanted to make a gank happen, but unfortunately for him, he just didn't have that possibility. Right now, Bjergsen, he's farming decently well. Charu should be able to beat him early on just because of that range advantage. And as long as he stays, within 10-15, it shouldn't be that bad for him.
So top lane now being frozen out a little bit more in the middle of the lane by MeetYourMakers. Want to have the chance to at least put down some damage onto Freeze as he comes out to try and get that farm with the range advantage that they've got over him. Not to mention that horrible silence that comes out of Fiddlesticks every so often that could really throw them off and stop them getting out what they need to get out if it turns into a fight.
Everything about Fiddlesticks is horrible if you're on the other team.
Well, yeah.
I mean, that's how I'm looking at it right now. I mean, you even forget about the passive of him where he reduces the magic resist of people around him, so that makes Charu even stronger. You stack that with the full penetration build, which I don't think is actually going to be going. It makes you do so much more damage, but NIP, they're having a tough time, but they're able to farm on a turret really well. I mean, he's not down... Well, no, he's down quite a bit of CS. He's down 15 CS right now, but he still should be able to farm quite well. Maluno, he wants to make something happen, but right now, you do have the hook landing.
Oh, the hook landing in on towards Libic here. Can Maluno get involved? Freeze is super low, so they can forget him getting joined in on the fight as Libic is going to flash. There's a jump in. First blood comes down for Deficio, but here comes the teleport. Charu goes in. He's going to pop the passive there of Maluno. Have they got the damage to keep them away? No. Charu gets one. Ulti running now. Has he got enough damage to get two? He goes to Freeze. Gets a double kill. The hook actually missed there from Deficio. That could have been the kill for him under the tower, but nicely done. There's the teleport again from Charu coming up big.
And just showing why he loves that summon. Now Bjergsen just going to push in that lane, but a great job of him to come in. It was I wanted to think a little bit too late, but when they realized how much damage they did back to the team and how they realized that Freeze, he got hit with a Piltover Peacemaker right as the fight started, so he wasn't even in the fight, and they knew that they could actually be able to turn that around, pick up 2 kills, but Bjergsen, he's heading top for macro. He is level 6, and he is spotted by a ward, but I don't think he has the damage to kill him.
Well, Makler, what's he gonna do here? There's the body slam missing. Makler flashing away from the Baron. He's like, what damage, Bjergsen? None of it's gonna hit me. I am out of here. But flash burn, I suppose, and that's something for them to look forward to as Makata comes in here on towards Mima and decides, nope, not gonna be able to really push down for him. Kuban actually right now got a 12 CS lead over Mima and the level advantage.
I'm really surprised by that. Well, no, I'm not surprised by that. I'm surprised by the fact that Makati's camping him quite a bit. I mean, yeah, they're trying to pick off, I want to say they're weak link, and I don't mean anything bad by that, but just weak link in terms of not playing with NIP as much as Extinct did previously. So he won't be obviously in synergy with the rest of his team, but considering they're ganking him and not Bjergsen, not Freeze in the top lane, it's a little bit odd, but so far it's working out. It's allowing Kuban to get strong, it's allowing him to get that free farm, and he's going to become a real nuisance when he starts a split push.
Well, Freeze already with that one death, actually picking up the Vamp Scepter has his first item in there. Double Doran's Blade and Berserker Greaves all done up here for Makla's Caitlyn. That's going to give him more chance to be dodging those hooks that come through and generally just being a lot more mobile and able to escape from any pressure that comes down for NIP. Right now, it's a 600-700 gold lead for MeetYourMakers after everything that went down there in the early stages, but almost 8 minutes in, pretty low-scoring game up until now.
Yeah, and we look at where those kills went. I mean, you got to keep in mind, they went over to Char. Look what he came back to lane with. A Nisi large rod. 7 minutes in. Like, that is really hard for Bjergsen to deal with. And when his ultimate's up, Char, I mean, he doesn't have Ignite, so his kill potential in lane really kind of diminishes, but with the Nisi large rod, he's still going to hurt quite a bit. He still should be able to pressure Bjergsen quite well, but there still always is that threat of Bjergsen trying to one-combo him.
Look at the CS between the AD carries, though. That's the real worry for me right now. Freeze 38 to 62. That's already a 5,000 gold lead. That's a 5,000. Wow, that would be really impressive. 500 gold lead that's appeared for Makla.
And it's all due to him blowing that cleanse right off the bat. I mean, yeah, he got feared and he got exhausted and he wanted to get out of that, but with that cleanse going down, he can't afford to trade with this Caitlyn who can just outrange him. And we all know how good Makler is with micromanagement. We saw a little bit earlier, you know, when Bjergsen came to gank him, and we saw it, or we can just see it in lane, period. And that's really going to hurt them because now Draven is going to be as strong as he should be. He should be able to dominate his lane and then kind of take that into the mid to late game. But without that, he's just not going to do that much damage. He needs some kills somewhere. And Maluno, he's got to make those ganks happen, which it looks like he's currently going for.
Well, we'll see about that. He's on the top side of the map at least, but looks like he's actually headed back down here. So NIP really struggling to get in there and really get anything done with the jungler. Makata, meanwhile, is headed up into this top lane. There's a ward down in that brush, which MYM should be aware of because they put their own ward down and Freeze actually attacked it there. So they know that they've got vision in. As the pink ward does come down there as well from Deficio, took 2 hits, but that's pretty much thrown Makler off, Makata off.
Yeah, why is he still there? That is a little weird. I mean, definitely, they knew that a ward was put down, but yet he's sticking around. So I don't know, it might be a little bit of miscommunication. It might be just MYM not noticing the ward went down there. But either way, they're going to get this turret down very low, and Bjergsen's coming up there, but he's going to be too late to stop it, and Maluno's not in position to really make the gank happen, so they're just letting the turret go down for free.
Yeah, and I mean, even just the presence of Makata there in that brush has allowed them to get that turret because they know that they can't fight because they're going to have that one on top of them as Bjergsen gets hit by the charm. Well, not really too much. He's just going to finish off here those creeps.
The only thing that can really charm him is beer. Oktoberfest Gragas.
Exactly, as we are going to see the teleport coming down into this bottom lane. Mima did get taunted up there, and escape he is not going to do from this one. Kubon picks up that kill, so not only got the CS lead now, he's got a kill advantage over Mima.
Kubon just looks over at Charlie like, yeah, I got the kill over you. Take that. But yeah, that was just really well done, and that's the power of that teleport. And if you don't respect it early on, you can really snowball a game out of your hand. And Maluno, he's going to try to come around middle to make play happen on Makate, but Makate has flash. And right now, NIP, it seems like they're at a loss of what to do.
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, Charu, we always talk about his teleport and how he's not the player that utilizes it so much in the early game.
Exactly.
One thing that Aranea really talked about yesterday, though, is what you have to do against MeetYourMakers and that constant threat of the teleport is really be careful as to how far you pushed up on a lane, especially if you don't know if there are wards behind you, because that's where MeetYourMakers are getting all their advantages from recently. Oh, Libic. And he flashes away. I was going to say he's horribly out of position from that one. Going to get slowed down after he dodged the hook, but flash burn, bit of a target maybe later on, but at least not fodder for NIP there.
And you saw NIP that they wanted to chase him down, but they backed away yet again. I mean, we look at what happened at level 1 when they could have killed Makati right there. There's no way he was going to be able to escape, and yet they sat back. They didn't know where else the team were, even though obviously we could see. And it just kind of shows that NIP, they're playing very different from what they normally would. Like, with Extinct on the team, they're just aggression, 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 fight, fight, fight. Don't care if, you know, we might lose this one. They just go for it. And with Mimir being added to the team, they're a lot more passive, and that makes it easier for MeetYourMakers, who usually thrives on early game control, to have the ability to do that.
I think a lot of the problem as well is that, you know, Rise takes a longer time to get going than a lot of the champions that we saw Extinct lane in that top lane as well. You know, the likes of Kennen, who once you hit 6, you can really start to get involved in things and that. But, you know, Tia and the Catalyst right now is what Mimer's got. Behind on CS, behind in the kills, and is not offering too much to the fights right now in terms, certainly in his damage. So we'll have to see how that really goes for him as the game progresses.
I think the thing is the keyword yet. I mean, because obviously he scales up quite a bit, and Bjergsen, I mean, I'm just trying to like make sure everyone understands this, that if you get a Rune Prison on someone, like a flash Rune Prison, and Rise gets a full combo off, Gragas ults him, and even maybe Draven's ultimate comes across somehow, like that target's gonna die if they don't have a Zhonya's, no matter who it is. So there's always potential for that to happen, and if they're able to pick someone off like that right off the bat, if it's a high priority target like Charo or Mackler, then they have a very easy fight ahead of them.
Oh, there was a hook going through, not quite connecting though, onto the fiddlesticks of Libic. And we see that Makato is actually waiting here off to the side by this blue buff. They've got complete vision of it as he goes in there. Did he get it? No, he didn't. Maluno had to smite it down, but they are pushing in. Libic already got his ultimate running from this one as a flash from Bjergsen comes away, and they decide to back off from that. There is a hook landing onto Charo. Ultimate comes out of Bjergsen, but honestly not doing really the damage that they'd have wanted. And with Dragon now going to be in play, MYM going to go for it.
Yeah, and with that Gragas Sprout coming down, like that is a big ultimate that they're going to need in these fights. Not to mention he's very low, but NIP, they're actually coming over to Dragon to try to stop it, and this could be a very bad move, and this could be a huge mistake.
Oh, Dragon coming in there, going to be picked up. Maluno going to dive into the top of him. He gets charmed up, tries to pull himself out there with the Lantern Freeze. He's going to take a lot of damage in the back. Deficio going low. Maluno comes back in. He will fall. Freeze is still doing damage to them there. And, well, they are going to force them away, and I think MeetYourMakers would have been looking a little bit more for that one. Straven does throw the axes out there to try and get a nice slow from Mackler on towards Mima, and they back away with, you know, a kill and a Dragon. That's fine from MeetYourMakers' perspective.
I think NIP got very lucky right there. It could have gone so much worse than they could have lost a lot more targets, but luckily for them, MYM just kind of wanted to force or focus on that Dragon instead of really fighting here. But yeah, Dragon, a kill, gives them a little bit of extra gold. They're up 2 turrets to 0 right now. They have a nice 4,000 gold lead. Everyone on their team is getting fed, at least the right targets. And Charo, who has that DFG, actually has a Negatron cloak following it up. So now, you know, Mimer and Bjergsen won't be able to kill him. Like, there's no burst potential right now happening out of NIP just yet.
So let's have a look at the overall picture. It's 4,000 gold. That's we're 14 minutes in. Considering the fairly slow start, I think we can safely say that we had to this one. MeetYourMakers have done a real good job of starting to build this one out. 1,400 gold lead is what Charo currently has over Bjergsen in the mid lane. If you look at Caitlyn versus Draven, 4,000, let's call it 5,000 gold to 3,600. Masses of CS difference there. 2 assists on Mackler as well.
And that is actually a really key point, because once he gets whatever item he wants to go for, it looks like he will go for Infinity Edge first. Like, that is a giant power spike that NIP can't handle, because where's their tankiness coming from? And right now, it's no one. I mean, it's just Maluno, who isn't built tanky yet at all. I mean, you have Mimer, who will get tanky, but he needs to finish off a couple items before he does that, not to mention he's already behind in CS and in kills, or in deaths. And then Freeze, who he needed that Bloodthirster before he got out of laning phase, and now he doesn't have it in. They're in this mid-game part where MeetYourMakers, they have the ability to siege these turrets down very easily.
And there's the backup called from NIP. They've decided to give that turret up completely. Bjergsen nowhere near it. And MYM will say, well, thank you very much. Outer middle turret, you're not even going to fight for it. That'll be all well and fine for us. As a ward goes over, that will spot Bjergsen's position. MYM, are they going to try and push through from this one? I mean, with Charo and Mackler in there, both able to clear out those waves pretty fast, they might be able to push things down.
And it looks like they're actually just going to back away instead. They're actually going to go for a split push. But it's very smart by MeetYourMakers realizing that, hey, we're really far ahead. We've seen in the past they kind of struggled with a gold lead, even though it'd be, you know, exponentially in their favor. They would still be scared to really pull off and engage. But Maluno gonna get caught, but that was not a smart ultimate on Makade. No.
Kind of obvious for me of Aatrox was going to be able to jump away from that one as they go in on towards Mima. Ace in the hole comes through as well. Can he escape from that one? Just about. And that was just the last charge there from Charu's ulti that connected to him. Didn't quite have the damage to get the finishing touches off, but they may have done enough with that to get themselves another turret here.
And look where Kuban is, split pushing away because he's Shen, he's strong. He doesn't have his Sunfire Cape done just yet, but he has the ability to do this. And if NY wants to, they can do that Libic ultimate over the wall and have Kuban come in with his Stand United. But in the meantime, they're just going to back away and go and spend a little bit of gold right now as the Infinity Edge should be done very soon for Mackler. And the thing is, like, we talked about MeetYourMakers in the first couple weeks. If they get that first turret down on you, if they get control of the game early on, they're going to be very aggressive. They're going to ward your jungle like crazy, which allows Charu to really hop around the map. And we talked about them in the pregame saying they've been changing up their strategy, but it seems like their old one's working out well for them. It seems like they've figured out a way to make their early game more powerful so they have the ability to control it and then just kind of fall back to how they know how to play.
Yeah, which is that full control play style. We see their Bloodthirster now finished up by Freeze. Abyssal Scepter coming in as well for Bjergsen. The Rod of Ages is done for Mima's Rise. So that gives them a lot more power coming through from this one. But MeetYourMakers won't be far behind them finishing off some more items.
Yeah, you give them like 1 or 2 minutes longer. You're going to have the Abyssal done. You're going to have the IE done. You're going to have a Sunfire Cape hopefully done for Kuban. Actually, yeah, it would be done very soon because he's just been pushing away, farming up quite a bit. The thing is, like, with how far Freeze is behind, Kuban only has to worry about the AP damage coming out of Mimir and Bjergsen. Like, he's not going to take any damage for Freeze with that Sunfire Cape, so that's why he's rushing that Runic Bulwark. He wants that extra magic resist. He wants to be able to give that to the rest of his team, because Charu with an Abyssal and a Runic Bulwark is going to be so hard to kill for NIP.
Oh, we see them here coming in towards that blue buff. The small blizzard taken away there by Mackler. Say thank you very much, and NIP a little bit wary here of actually sticking around to finish off that blue buff. In the meantime, Kuban is just pushing in this top lane. NIP, they're going to have to react at some point.
And they're not even taking their own blue right now. I mean, just the 3 members of MeetYourMakers are holding them off. Well, the 4 just Charlie's around the corner, but they're going to take it. But at what cost? Are they really going to afford to, or can they really afford to lose a top inner turret for a blue buff? And it gets stolen away.
Yeah, they've lost it as well. That is just the most horrible thing that could have happened for NIP here. They're going to lose that inner turret at the top. They look like they want to fight as Maluno gets charmed into that one. He tries to get away, does get away. There's a massive Cataclysm coming out from Akata, and here comes the fight. Bjergsen right at the front, exhausted. He's somehow still alive from this one. Deficio finished off, and MYM can chase through for this one now. Ace in the hole going to hit Mima. He is going to be a dead man. Maluno is very, very low. Already had his passive pop, and that will be 3 kills. An inner turret in the top lane as well.
And that was just that Cataclysm. Wow, that was ridiculous coming out of Makata right there, knocking up 5 members, pulled them all together, and then Kuban coming in with that Stand United. He did get the turret top lane too, yeah. And now they're gonna go Dragon, so they're up 7-1 in kills. They're up 4-0 in turrets. They're up almost 10,000 gold, but this Dragon, they're pretty much gonna be there 20 minutes in.
Yeah, this is the perfect start for MeetYourMakers. And we see that really close. 9,000 gold is basically what they've got right now in terms of a lead. And those items we were talking about earlier, all going to get start to finish off. Infinity Edge coming out for Caitlyn. See Boots and Mobility coming through there for Thresh. The Abyssal Scepter done for Charu's Ahri. And, well, overall, that's a big spike of damage and power here for MeetYourMakers when it comes to the next ones. And you have to wonder there for NIP, the decision-making involved in that one. I mean, they let the inner turret go in the top lane at the cost of we're securing the blue buff here. Then they lost the blue buff, which is just everything going wrong, and then they lose 3 kills after it as well. I mean, that was just horribly calculated.
I couldn't have said it better myself. I completely agree, Joe, and I know they're looking back at it like, wow, that was a stupid move, but I don't know. We talked about in the pregame saying against Evil Geniuses, they were ballsy and went, hey, let's just rush that Baron, because we saw, you know, Shaker backing away, and they kind of went for something similar, but it wasn't the same circumstances. It didn't obviously work out the same way, and now with like all those items coming in with the Sunfire Cape done on Kuban, who is going to stop him from split pushing? And the only person is really Mimir right now, and he can't stop him from teleporting away.
Yeah, Double Age is coming out now as well for MeetYourMakers. See how their ability to close this one out is, because they are in the driving seat. They are in a position to, you know, make those steps towards finishing off the game right now. But I've seen so many teams struggle with this in the past.
We've seen them versus Lemon Dogs actually struggle quite heavily with this when they had a 20,000 gold lead. I don't remember how late into the game it was, but it wasn't that late. And they still struggled because they had Charo and Twisted Fate who just got caught one too many times, and it really forced them to just back off. And right now, I mean, they have almost that 10,000 gold lead. They have a lot of kills on a Charo, so if he gets caught and killed, that's a lot of their damage gone.
Well, right now they're doing typical MYM stuff of getting deep wards into the enemy jungle, especially on that top side where a Baron position is what it's really all about. There's a pink ward in that brush, and they're really desperate to get that one away. They put the flag down. It's like, come on, we can get this one. We're going to get this one, Libby. Let's do it.
And you have to keep in mind, like, there's a Fiddlesticks, and I talked about this yesterday in terms of Blitzcrank when Ultimate was playing versus MeetYourMakers, that if you deny that vision, when you have a support like that who can be so deadly, you just somehow need to get it back. Like, you cannot afford to give up any wards in your own jungle, but at this point in the game, they kind of have to, and now it looks like they're going to lose their middle inner turret, as still Kuban is just pushing that bottom lane, and Bjergsen's sitting there trying to stop him, but honestly, he can't.
No, not really a lot he can do about that one. You see the silence just stripping through the NIP team. And they're just going to keep going straight into this one, MYM. Makata taking away the jungle as much as he possibly can. Kuban is still down there. Mima now the one that's going to try and stop him from doing that, but he himself can't get involved. So if MeetYourMakers took a fight right now, it would be a 5v4.
Yeah, it definitely would, but you can see the hesitation on them right now. They just want to let Kuban go for that split push. He's actually going to just straight face into the turret a little bit, just on the bottom left side of your screen. But Charo, he's there in the vicinity. Looks like they're actually splitting up, going for a two-man split push and trying to get that turret down, which it looks like they might be able to accomplish here. They have the wards to spot anyone coming too, and they have MeetYourMakers being very aggressive bottom lane, or sorry, middle lane, and they have the ability to disengage if they need to.
And there it is, taken down. NIP tried to chase him away from this mid lane, which worked, but it was all about buying time for that bottom lane, which Kuban is still there. Sunfire keeps burning through those waves as they come, and they've got to stop this somehow, but how?
Well, I mean, the thing is they have to force a fast engage. Like, they have to try to catch someone and burst them down before Shen Ultimate can get through, before he can actually arrive at the party. Problem is, they don't have the damage to do that right now, and I'm looking at this like, exactly, what can they do to pretty much stop this from happening? They need to kind of gain vision of their own jungle, but if they sink 400 gold into an Oracle right now, it won't really matter because they can't fight their own jungle. So the vision they just spent, or the vision they tried to get, and the money they spent trying to get it, is just all wasted. So right now, it's about getting your carries fed, trying to feed that farm over to them, make sure they get it in every lane possible, and then hope that you have the damage soon to be able to take them on.
Yeah, soon being a pretty key word, I think, in this equation. We see MYM again going back and buying up whatever they can to basically go back out there and do the whole rinse and repeat of this split push strategy that they're going for here with Kuban. It's currently 203 now as well, almost at 200 CS, so he's right up there with that of Charo and Bjergsen.
I really want to praise Kuban, actually, because we talked about towards the beginning of the split when he was only playing Elise, and we're saying, you know, if he doesn't get Elise, is he going to play well? And for the first week or two, he didn't, but he's been playing really well on these different champions he's being forced to pick up, like his Shen. Done a very good job with these. He's played a lot of other champions in the past, including Lissandra, which he didn't do too bad at, and he's been adapting really well to how teams are countering him.
Well, are MYM going to be able to get this turret down? It's at half HP right now, and it's definitely a slow process to work that one through, but it looks like they will finally go in for that one here. Good few hits coming down once again as Mima now coming around from the side. That's 5v4, which, you know, right now they're quite happy to almost bait out and then back away from and then go back in and then back away because Kuban is still pushing the top lane.
And look who's up there to deal with the Mimer, and that's the biggest threat to them because of him being a Rise. Like, yeah, obviously Bjergsen can ult you, but not going to do that much damage, especially when he isn't ranked, or doesn't have that rank 3 ultimate. Oh. And they're slowly going to get this turret down. I mean, it's just slow and steady wins the race. Yeah, and there's the pull, but...
Yeah, they got the hook on towards Charo there, but honestly, not really doing a whole lot after that one. It did force Charo to actually use his ultimate there to escape from that one, as we do have the Dragon now back in play, and NIP are trying to force MYM back.
Yeah, this is a really key point in the game right now is, well, that's not much damage, but is the fact that Can MYM keep pushing? Can they get inhibitor turrets off this? Because they've been able to take outer ones with the help of split push. But right now, we do see engage coming out.
Here comes Fiddlesticks from the side. There's a Cataclysm down, and Bjergsen studying the damage right here. He is going to get exhausted up. Makata having to back away. There is the kill on towards Aatrox. They did manage to get Makata down, but can they get away now? Bjergsen is so very low. There's an ace in the hole, but Mackle knows it'll probably be blocked by someone. Where are they going to go now? MeetYourMakers there with a 1-for-1. Dragon is up. They'll probably take that goal and say thank you very much.
I don't know if this is a smart move by them to just give it away, because they're going to have such a tough time taking the inhibitor turrets down. They have a man advantage right now. Well, not a man advantage, but they have an advantage just in terms of having the initiate out of NIP be down. They don't have a Gragas ultimate. They don't have Luna to jump in there, and they have the ability to siege these turrets down very quickly. They could have even gone for Baron right there, but they're just going to play it safe, go for Dragon, and safe, which they've done in the past, has almost made them lose games.
There is the Dragon going down nonetheless, and 12,000 gold is what MeetYourMakers have right now. And I remember that game you were talking about, because we were casting in like, okay, MeetYourMakers, they've got a 4 million gold lead. They've got the best items, you know, 2 or 3 items more than their opponents. They've got the ability to do this one, but the pure caution coming out from them, which you can understand as well. Everything is on the line right now. There's so much pressure on these teams. You know, we always talk about the advancement towards the World Finals, towards those playoffs. That is what they're really aiming for. But there's also the flip side of that, that if you start losing here and you finish bottom, you're not just fighting for playoffs, you're actually fighting for your whole careers from that as well. So there's pressure from both sides here on both of these teams, so that's why they're being so cautious. MeetYourMakers here, I've actually got that Oracle running of Pink Watered Baron. Will they go from it? Form says no for me at this point in the game.
And the thing is, there's a fine line between being cautious and too cautious, and they're trying to walk that very thin line, and they're kind of having a tough time of really seeing where that line comes down. As Libic kind of dodged a pull there. That might have been the engage that NFP was looking for, but I mean, you're very right. Like, if they are at the bottom of the table, they're fighting for their career. They're fighting for their jobs, and we saw how hard it was on some of the players last season. You know, with a no-no off of Against Authority, like when he didn't requalify, we saw him. He was so broken. He was so upset. And you can imagine that anyone playing an LCS right now would have that same response.
So we've got a 2-man Baron attempt from MeetYourMakers. NIP currently are sat back, being pretty much zoned out by the annoyance that is Surprise Party Fiddlesticks and Charu in there as well. And this Baron is going down slowly but surely, and he is going to go on to MeetYourMakers now. Solid pickup from them. NIP didn't know it was happening.
And they haven't spotted it yet. And then they spotted it now. I was like, are they going to try to make a play happen off this without it being spotted? But yeah, with the Baron, like, if they can't push an inhibitor turret down now, then they are giving NIP the time to farm up their items, because they're ahead, you know, across the board in terms of that. But the longer they stall this game out, the stronger Mimer's going to get. I mean, look at his items. He's getting there. He's got the magic resist now. He's got the tier stacked up. He's got the Rod of Aegis stacked. He's going to let Bjergsen get his death cap, so his damage, you know, spikes up. Maluna's going to get even tankier. Freeze is going to get the damage he needs. So if they don't make a move soon, the whole 10, 14,000, whatever amount it's at right now, gold that they've been able to accumulate for the past 30 minutes is going to be for nothing.
Well, we'll see. MYM, as he said, they struggled to finish out games. The thinking behind that one, I remember the interview with Makata, who said, you know, one mistake is all you really need, and you can really lose a game like that. So they're obviously sticking to that mindset here, the whole careful, slowly but surely kind of mentality, which, as you said, let's not forget, NIP yesterday were behind against Evil Geniuses. They were in a position of pretty much losing that game the way it was going. They sat back, they patiently farmed things up, they got to a position where they could actually do something, and one smart decision or bad decision, whichever way you look at it from EG's side, they were able to get straight back in and win that game.
Yeah, and there's one thing you have to keep in mind on top of that is that if they do lose someone, you know, MeetYourMakers does lose a member of their team right now, NIP has 0 turrets. That is so much free gold sitting there waiting for them to pick up if they do get a 5-man push somewhere, that they can just buy items pretty much out of nowhere. So you're definitely right. Like, they need to be cautious, but they also need to get an inhibitor down. Like, they need that little crack in the wall to become the hole in the wall for them to finally get through and start to get this game locked down.
Well, we see that they are finally starting to push up this middle lane now. Waves not lasting very long when Charu and Makla get themselves going. Sorry, already down to half. Michael actually getting hooked in. They're going to barrel him down. He's a dead man as Mima picks up that kill. MeetYourMakers starts to back away, but they're chasing him for this one. Flashes from MeetYourMakers. They're getting off, and that's the kind of thing that MeetYourMakers were talking about. Your AD carry getting hooked underneath the turret, absolutely destroyed from NIP. Yes, they threw pretty much every single ultimate at that one, but they got the AD carry down.
They're saying worth. But, I mean, we think back to the spring split with Deficio on Thresh. Against Authority, he actually got a couple of pulls onto Nono that pretty much gave him the game. Like, he actually was able to pull Nono, who was on Ezreal multiple times under that turret, and that was able to get him back in the game, and he's able to prove it yet again. But right now, with that kill that NIP got, what did they take off of it? Nothing. I mean, it's obviously a little bit hard to do that when you have Charos pushing bottom and no one can really go heads up against him. But the thing is, if you're going to get kills like that, you need to be able to make something happen off of it.
Makata at this point just stealing away much of that jungle as he possibly can. Red buff is going to be going over to him. I'm assuming that Makler is going to be getting given his own red buff, who, you know, right now actually he's 1-1-5, and I think if Makler gets caught out in a fight here, outside of Charu, then they've not really got that much damage, and that's a real problem for MYM.
Exactly, and it goes back to what you're saying, that one little mistake, one person getting caught can completely turn a game around for you, and if it's Charu, if it's Makler, exactly, that's all their damage. Kuban's not going to do anything here. Libic's not going to do anything, obviously, and neither will Makati, so he needs to not be in that position, but it's weird if you think about it. Should he have been in position to get pulled ever? Because he's Caitlyn. It's really hard to get in that position, but you have to give NIP credit. You have to give Deficio credit for being able to spot that mistake and take advantage of it.
Charu just got hooked there as MYM now going for another push on this middle turret. They've had a bad experience there once before. Well, let's see if they can get past that and go in for it this time. It's pretty low now already. Got about 20% of its health remaining as that turret. They throw down a few more traps into it. To be honest, that Shen can tank up a lot of stuff when it comes to hits from the turret. They could probably deal with that just from Kuban actually getting in there and tanking that one turret up. But as I said, careful it is for MYM.
I'm pretty sure that they could just dive the turret. Like, for instance, have Libic ult over the wall, have Kuban go in, ult, or, you know, and taunt someone, let Makler and Charu finish the turret down, they'd kill it right away, and they'd be able to win the fight.
Problem they have that the longer that they let this one go, the less likely they are going to be able to actually do that, to fight them in there. So now time is ticking here for MeetYourMakers. We're 34 minutes into this one as Makata and Charu now pushing that bottom turret. What are they going to do about this one? Kuban reluctant to tank the tower. Makata backs away, and they do go into that middle turret. Still not quite finished off. Still got a speck of help on it.
You know, I'm looking at this and I'm wondering, is this a weak point within the MeetYourMakers team in terms of they're counting on NIP to make a mistake? Oh, no, this is not good for Makati.
Well, actually, did manage to get off towards his flag there. It was a little bit of a jerky move over there because of all the CC coming out onto him, but surviving with his life. And MeetYourMakers, I think one thing's for sure, it's not going to be just one Baron this game.
Oh, definitely. I was doing Charu actually going and trying to get some damage, just trying to push them away from this turret because it's so low. And I was trying to say, oh, they do get the turret and they're going to engage.
Yeah, Kuban going in for this one. Charu at the back. There's a lot of damage coming around as Libic going to get hooked in, but there's the Cataclysm coming down. Kuban going to use Stan United. They do manage to proc Maluno's passive here as they go right on top of him. He tries and successfully jumps away for a while before Makler actually comes in, and this opens the floodgates now for MeetYourMakers. It's 5 versus 2. Can they finish it off right here?
No, Joe. They're going to go back and go for Baron. Oh, Makler actually, I don't think he can dual freeze right now. But anyways, so I was trying to say is that MeetYourMakers, they're in the winning position right now. Like, they have the gold lead, they have the items, everything. But they're counting on NIP to still make another mistake for them to finish the game, when it should be the other way around. It should be NIP counting on MeetYourMakers to make a mistake for them to get back in the game or to be able to get some sort of advantage. And it's not necessarily exactly what you need, but still, either way, MeetYourMakers are able to get an inhibitor off of it, and they do have this nice advantage where Baron will be up in 30 seconds. They have Superman's pushing middle, and we have a giant gold lead between the AD carries.
not just even. Look at the mid laners there as well. There's a 4,000 gold lead between them. There's 3,000 between the between Ryze and Chen. The supports, if you look at that, if you want to, we might as well. We've got a little bit of time, I think, left for this one. 2,400 is the difference in there as well. So now at this point, MeetYourMakers, you know, they've made those steps of actually taking the inhibitor down. Baron's coming up here next. They've gone back. They've bought up Infinity Edge, Phantom Dancer. Bloodthirster now in there for Caitlyn with a pickaxe as well, working towards that last whisper. We've got the makings of a Randuin's Omen on Fiddlesticks at this point as well, just to show you how that's going.
It makes sense though, because we saw over an NA Nintendo Dex, I believe from Team Coast, actually built tank Fiddlesticks in the jungle, because your base numbers on Fiddlesticks Ultimate is ridiculous. And NIP trying to make a play there. I mean, they didn't have the Oracle, I believe, so they couldn't even kill the ward that was in there. But I mean, the base stats on Fiddlesticks' ultimate is just really high. So you just build straight tank, pop the Reynas when you get in the middle of them. The whole team is slowed, and it allows for Kuban to hit a nice, easy taunt.
Well, let's see how far they get in that.
Let it reset, guys. Calm down.
Baron's just going crazy there. He's like, no, I've not reset yet, Lyric. I'm going to hit you for a while. See ulti thrown out there by Freeze to push out that bottom wave a little bit more. Deficio here getting out of position there and trying clearing out some wards. And NIP look like they don't want to give up Baron 2. It looks like their idea for getting back in this game as it was against EG is to make a play on Baron.
But what's so weird is this is the first time they've been out of their base in the past 10 minutes, it feels like. They do have an Oracle on Deficio, luckily, but they're not clearing out all these wards that are currently around everywhere. And in the meantime, Kuban's just still pushing bottom. We saw how that happened earlier on with him in that top lane when they were around blue buff, and it worked out horribly for him. Now they're doing it again with red buff, and it gets stolen away.
Nicely done by Mackle there. Piltover Peacemaker comes through, says thank you very much. As you said, though, Kuban split pushing this bottom lane. The turret is low. He's going down here, possibly just to those minions coming in. Kuban does actually back away from that one. Meantime, actually it's not quite as low as I figured out, but I think it will go down. Baron has been started by MeetYourMakers. Turret does fall in the end. There's Stan United coming in for Kuban, going in on top of Mackler. But can they actually get in here and make anything work from this? They keep that Baron going. Mackler actually going in there from the backside, so Baron has been started. There's the ultimate out of Bjergsen, and that's really one thing going down as the DFG comes in there. Charu going very, very deep, but he's done so much damage. Taunt doesn't quite land. Ace in the hole goes through to hammer down Deficio as they turn, hit Kuban, but look, he doesn't take any damage really. More than half of his health still left after that fight. He's got a Warmogs, that running bulwark, plus a Sunfire Cape as well, and we're now with the second Baron of the game, a naked inhibitor on bottom. It's their game right now to finish.
And I think they're going to be able to do it on this next one. NAP, I mean, you heard Demon say it earlier. The chances of coming back from two inhibitors being down is so ridiculously low. It's so hard to do. And NAP, they need to fight on this, but they can't fight against a Baron at MeetYourMakers who are still being very hesitant for some reason. They have Baron. They have an 18,000 gold lead, and yet they're not committing to this.
Well, slow but sure, Jason. We've learned this about MeetYourMakers by now. Not quite fast enough, I think. As the inhibitor down to half HP, or just a little bit less at this point. The barrel's only going to explode in a certain range. That's never going to change, guys. You can still dodge it, but no.
All that wasted beer, though.
So all that wasted beer, bad times. We see the charm landing onto Maluno. He's going to get his passive pop, but are they going to stick around to try and kill him off afterwards? The answer is no.
I really wish I could say what's going through MYM's head. I mean, obviously it's about what Makade said in that interview. I mean, they don't want to get caught. They don't want to lose this game with what's at stake. They get the second inhibitor down. They're going to go for a third one right now. And honestly, they could probably face tank it. They could probably engage right now if they wanted.
But they don't want to. That seems to be the key point. There's the knockup. This surely is going to be the fight. Cataclysm gets 3 men. They flash away from it. It's Charu takes a lot of damage, but Mima is going to fall down. It's now a 5 versus 4, a 1 minute spawn time for Mima as the second, or the first inhibitor really that they took down goes down again. And now 5 versus 4 to win the game for MeetYourMakers. Those Nexus turrets going down very, very quickly. The first one will fall. They've got super minions in there as well. Now it's just the Nexus. Hit the Nexus, MeetYourMakers. They're going to go in for it. Fiddlesticks running his ultimate, and MeetYourMakers are finally going to take down Ninjas in Pyjamas. A much deserved and a well thought out victory there for MeetYourMakers. It took them a while, as we said, but that theory that they had before of not making any silly mistakes. Don't risk it. Pick up the safe win. That's exactly what they've done.
It took them a while, but they still got to that end goal. They still got to that finish line of picking up that win, the much-needed win, just like you're saying. Trying to keep themselves off the bottom of the tables. I believe it actually ties them up with SK now at the bottom. And honestly, I mean, it's not the way you ideally want to win a game. But if you can win the game doing that, you'll take it. I mean, look back at Evil Geniuses when they used to farm till that very late game, getting so much gold accrued throughout, and then finally pushing it home just by the book.
Yeah, and at the end of that one, Chara went in 6-0-5, and again, that teleport really helping to start things off for him. I mean, we saw him twice getting involved, twice they picked up kills through that, and that really was the start. He had a DFG very early on, went into the Abyssal Scepter after that, and, well, just kept going through.
I'm trying to think, did he even use it after those 2 games?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't remember if he did or not, but in the end, it still worked out for him, and you look across the